Greetings everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks again so much for tuning in. I am Simmer Chase. Today we have a very small build. Yes, this one is the mini mansion. So woohoo, yes. So this mansion has one bedroom, one bathroom, and kind of shows that I can build small too. And I hope you guys definitely give it a whirl. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe in the links below. And as always, stay proud, go out and do something magical, and let's go ahead and dive into this tiny build. Only 86 tiles. Now, so stoked for the mini mansion. I am so excited you guys are tuning in and checking this one out. It's a small one, it's a short one, so don't blink, or you might just miss it. With this one, I actually did a lot of detail more on the outside than most people would notice at first glance, because what I actually did is I kind of was messing with it quite a bit and then realized that I was messing with it so much that I forgot to hit record. So you kind of miss a little bit of me going back and forth trying to decide on elements. So there was kind of the initial chunk out of the plan, and then we went down into I just kind of put the bathroom together a little bit because I wasn't really sure how everything was gonna fit in. So I just kind of fit everything in as I could, as quick as I could, and then I ended up just forgetting to even record that. So I apologize, but this one was really fun because what I did is, you may not notice, initially looking at it, but I actually did put in quite a bit of detail and kind of to chunk out each of the four sort of blocks of this house and the building. So I even went down to use the rail posts and that kind of stuff for the fencing. So you're seeing those go in now, and basically it's just kind of, shrinking that down, using it more as a wood texture element just to kind of define the space. I've seen a lot of screenshots online of different buildings and houses that are being built, right now or offered. And they have this plan where, it's just got this giant cabana, and then it had this idea of it has a triangular roof, which I couldn't obviously do because we're not able to pitch each corner of the roof like I wish we could. However, with this one, it's neat because, it just kind of gives you the opportunity to have that really cool cabana pergola sort of thing in your house, in The Sims. But in the rendering, it had this, but then I also had that really fun, earthy sort of chunked out looking facade that I kind of tried to replicate as best I could here. And so now you're just kind of seeing all the different pegs go in for this piece. And initially I was trying to trick the system and to keep letting me do 64 tiles so that I could consider it tiny. But unfortunately, I had to go up to the next level basically of small. So it's not quite small, it's just considered the I think tiny or whatever. It's not micro by any means. It's the next size up. I was really trying hard to get it really low, but I just really wanted to make sure that the roof was utilized for something. And I thought that maybe it would be really good to kind of incorporate into the overall facade of the design. So I was I'm gonna go ahead and just mix that idea and then just go ahead and go in with the little bit bigger tile allocation so that I could actually make it work. So now I'm kind of getting all the rest of the windows, the facade kind of cleaned up and together, which I do a couple times as I start deciding more on my design, because basically with this one, I just knew I wanted to build a small or a tiny house. I wasn't sure what it was going to end up being. I just kept going and ad hocing it basically, and just caking on more features and more things as I went along, because usually, I have some sort of general design idea kind of going into it, and this one I didn't. I just knew I kind of wanted it to have a modern feel, but I also knew I wanted to go rustic a little bit. So that's when I just kept going with all the wood and kind of overutilizing the decorative wood planks and that kind of stuff. So there's quite a bit of that in here, but I wanted it to be very custom looking too. So here in a bit, you're gonna see it kind of really come together and look a lot more cleaner. Because at first I'm not good at geometry. And at first I was like, whoa, this is a lot of geometry, girl. Uh-oh. So then I was like, okay, I can do this if I just kind of think about it a little more methodically and not make it so complicated. So then that's when I came in with the idea of just doing like the partial corner on one side and then the other side. So then my angles were a little bit cleaner and easier to go with. And there's kind of my element that I did with that. And you'll see me like really kind of clean this up a little bit more, but I just really enjoyed being able to use these as best as I could. And over time of it, like as I kept building and building, I'm like, ooh, I can make this a little bit bigger, extend it out and around. So then it kind of cleanly ends a little bit better, I think. So I, kind of popped in with the decorative wood planks a little bit more and just kind of built this whole erector set sort of design basically of like pieces and just kind of cobbling together a bunch of different things to really give it that feel of like outdoor cabana, and that it's just really useful because like later on here you'll see me drop in a bunch of like hanging plants and different things off of it. So it was just really neat to be able to go and kind of have the tool to be able to do this. So I don't have the actual tool, but just being able to at least, work on the actual design, I think is definitely good in the way that we can. It just takes a little bit of time. So that's when I'm like, cut, boring footage, yawn. So with that, I ended up just kind of, going with that and just kind of cutting out a lot of the unnecessary animations on that, because it was like literally there was like 3 hours worth of footage that I cut down to like an hour and like 10 minutes, and then of course when you speed it up then it cuts down even more, so then it went to like 15 minutes. So I was like, yeah, this is definitely really good and acceptable, because it was like with these small houses, it's almost like you can't really speed it up that much, because otherwise you blink and it's gone and it's done. So that was a little fun for me to try and play with too, because usually it's like more about like how fast can I make this, and this one I was like, how can I slow this down just a tad in certain areas, but then make it like not too boring in others. So there's definitely some speed variables you'll definitely see as it goes along, because in some instances I just had more footage that I could kind of cut down a little bit. So I really like the idea of doing inlays as well. That's something that really goes back with me all the way to the beginning of playing The Sims, and so I'm kind of utilizing that a little bit more too, and just kind of that design. And so now I'm coming up and through like the back garden area, and I really, since I just had these really fun like arbors and stuff, I just really wanted to kind of make them really over the top. So that's why I put a lot of stuff around, the garden, and then I kind of, really kind of went over the top with putting those statues up there. But I just thought it'd be really fun and add that little bit of modern rustic element that I was kind of shooting for. So now I've got in all this like really fun, like I just love a lot of the pergolas, the cabanas and stuff that are given to us as well. So I definitely want to make sure to use those. And then as I progressed, I was like, I want this to feel brighter and like cleaner, but like just slightly unrefined, So that's when I ended up playing around a little bit more and doing the pool and kind of going to that broken stone look from Island Adventure, and just to really bring in a lot more elements that I felt like it really needed some character, because right now I felt like it was just a little stale and almost like boring in a way, and I definitely would never want to make anything like that. So I was like, okay, what can I add? Because it's just like all of this like, tiny little structure. Now it's just more about like the landscaping and the amenities you can pack in. Fortunately, it was only a 20 by 20 lot, because I'm like, I couldn't even possibly think about wanting to do it the 30 by 20 lot, because otherwise your house isn't going to be the focal point. It's going to be everything around it, which I guess is okay. Like if you're making a garden or something that just happens to have a house. But, in mine, I'm trying to like make the house kind of the focal point a little bit as best as I can. So now I'm just kind of putting in all the nature sort of stuff on the outside because I thought it'd be fun to have like the park like feel. I generally do go for that as well. And so now I'm just kind of going through and getting all of our plants. And I'm really stoked about the plants too because they just kind of fit everywhere. Like, but it takes a little bit of work to try and remember which size you need. So there's some times where I'm going through and I'm like trying to like, oh, not that height. Oops, wrong one. So there's just a lot of variables with that. So definitely keep that in mind if you're going to use the plants, that you don't forget which one it is, because since they are debug options, you can't just, unless you have like one of the mods, you can't actually like select the item again with the eyedrop tool or like the shift command or any of that kind of stuff. So now I'm getting, I really like the pergolas a lot, but I really always like to add some sort of lighting when I can, because then it makes it feel a little more realistic, I think. So I definitely went with that. Like wherever I can, I always go with some sort of like wall sconce or something like that. And now we're just kind of getting the cabana area together. And I had a lot of different ideas. I mean, there's a lot of decent amount of space. Like you could do the bubble blower. You could do like a hot tub and like get rid of the hot tub off there if you wanted to slim down the tile count. So this is definitely a very versatile sort of plan and idea. And I hope you guys get a lot of use out of it, because it was definitely fun to put together. And I think that this is definitely going to help me, like, as I move forward with building like the medium-sized houses and thinking more about like how I can constrain my ideas down a little bit, or kind of pick and choose a little bit more, because obviously every house doesn't need a bowling alley or whatever, stuff like that. So I've been known to kind of go all out with that kind of stuff. So I just wanted it to feel really, homey here at the end, and just kind of really chill, and just a nice place to, see in the game, and maybe, think about living if you're looking for a much more relaxed lifestyle. And then I really love some of the like pillars and stuff we have too, because they work really good as plant stands or as stands to add into other fixtures like fountains or the bird baths, that kind of stuff, to give it an entirely different look and something more custom. So definitely don't be afraid of piling things on. Sometimes you just have to make sure that your seams and things match up so that it doesn't like act wonky on you. Like with this one, for instance, you're kind of seeing that's actually 3 different things piled together to make that one, like look for that pillar. And now we're getting floodlights in. Yes, you can never have like enough lighting, I feel like, outside. So I definitely had quite a few different options here, including like this fun little like holiday light looking thing. And then when I circled back to the kitchen, I was like, oh, there's like not really any room for uppers, and since such a tiny kitchen, it really needs some uppers. So I played around with that a little bit and decided that I was going to do 2 layers of uppers and then leave the open for the area for the bay window, so that the bay window just kind of had like a good use and could also kind of serve as like maybe like storage or something like that as well for decorations, clutter, that kind of stuff. And so now I'm just kind of getting artwork in, getting our finishing touches on the inside. Now you're seeing like the new kitchen windows come in, which I just really like being able to have some windows, but we really had to have some uppers in my opinion. Sometimes I'll forgo those, but because I want this to be more of like a growing family, like somebody that's, just starting out, not quite a bachelor, but somebody that's already getting married, or like their first house and they're getting ready to start a family. But right now they have like lots of friends and people to hang out with and stuff. So I thought that, this would definitely make sense for that. So you're just kind of grown up now, needing your first place, wanting to have place to socialize and gather and hang out, but at the same point you're like not needing like a ton of space. And this is actually, for me, it's a pretty good budget. Like it's less than 100,000 simoleons, which is pretty good for my builds because usually they're in the like hundreds of thousands of simoleons. Generally they're in the like 250 to 350, 400,000 simoleon range. So even just that little bit is definitely like, I'm really proud of myself for that, I guess. So now I'm just kind of coming through, getting the last of my like lighting because it was just pretty dark. And I really did want to go with the more moody tones upstairs and, you know, just make it romantic and very private. So now we're getting our exterior lights all together for all this because I just want it to be very bright and pop when it's in the evening. And you'll see that here in a moment as we do our final spin around. So thanks you guys so much for tuning in. I am so grateful and I hope you guys have a great day. Stay proud and go out and do something magical. Thank you.